it's a love story. If you have someone that you love in life, communicate that to them. Let them know. Inside the Zelda world, you always want Link and Zelda to get together. And it never happens. It never really happens all the way, and it's something that you hunger for. And so I thought, what if I played on that? But almost it was a regret that he didn't share with her truly how he felt, and she didn't really share with him how she felt, and they lost that opportunity. I have had this idea for over 3 years. It didn't start initially as Zelda, but I had this idea, and it had to do with kind of like in that medieval period, with knights and maidens and such. And when I first came onto the team, Devin and I were talking, and I said I had this idea, and then I went and sat down I was trying to come up with more video ideas, and I was like, why don't I just make this idea doctorate and make it Link and Zelda? Because both Devin and I, Zelda, the games and the stories are near and dear to our hearts, and so I was like, that's great. Devin got excited about it, I got excited about it, so I reworked the script, and I made it a Link and Zelda story. At the blood moon, it's like there's a full moon in the sky.
There's two.
We'll have one where you reach up and then one where you don't.
Okay.
So I like both those.
Okay.
Because now you're hearing the witch's voice. Every 60 years the blood moon rises. So we were supposed to shoot this a year before we did shoot it, but there was flash flood warnings in the area that we were at when we had gotten like the permits and stuff to film, so we had to cancel shooting. And then after that it was like blizzards and snow, and then we're like, okay, let's move it to the springtime because spring will be beautiful. And it was because of the heaviest snowfall that we've had in Utah in years. The snow was still melting and all the areas were still flooded, and there was ice everywhere. So, and that was all the way through spring to summer. It was still pretty swampy. And then by October, when we wanted to shoot it originally, the areas just looked amazing, and actually it was one of the most vibrant years in Utah. So we filmed everything in Utah in up in the Provo Canyon area. It's just beautiful up there. The locations are a big part of the game, so we wanted to make sure that the location felt like a Zelda world.
Speak to you with a shovel.
Yeah, and they come running over. We can come running this way.
Creighton,
Yeah,
buddy. Do you think we could have picked an ugly location?
I
don't know. Have you ever been to Kansas?
We didn't budget our time correctly. Things for mistakes and things going a little bit over schedule or miscommunications, and also and that such. And so it put us like 6 hours behind on the first day. And so already we were getting off to a bad start.
We are 2 hours and 15 minutes behind, but we'll be right on schedule.
That made no sense whatsoever.
We are. Yeah. And it make sense that we're 2 hours and 15 minutes behind?
Oh, but we're right on schedule?
Well, that didn't make sense, really.
The whole shoot was done in 3 days with a pickup day. This was a passion project, zero budget, and so we tried to squish everything as much as we could in it. I mean, we shot about 15 minutes of story within 4 days, which is a lot. We had a lot of coverage. We had to do a lot of different things. There's a lot of fighting. We had to cut out a ton of it while on set, just because of that. It's the time of the year where the sun isn't out as long, and it was freezing. The first day it was miserable, and I felt awful for my actors.
How cold are you?
Oh, super cold. I should have worn more layers.
It's really cold. It's really cold. Hands are going numb.
You're wearing a poncho.
I'm wearing a poncho. So, which means it's cocoa time.
Are y'all cold?
Freezing.
That's a stupid question. Sorry.
As far as casting all the characters, it was a big deal for me, because if they don't look like the characters in the game, then it's already a non-starter. People won't accept it. It's just be weird. And with my story, I really love this idea of having an old man Link. I mean, you play a lot with time in the other games, and but having an old man Link was always kind of a cool thought to me. And I thought that what would that be like? What would he be like? And so searching through, all the different agencies and the different actors and such, I stumbled upon Blaine, and I mean, he already has that long hair, that beard, and just the best person you can work with. Like, he was amazing, and he fit the bill, and he was stoked to do it.
And action.
Look up at the blood moon. And then you're soldiering on. You grab your sword. And as a director, I consider myself the first fan. If I'm making something that I'm not excited about, then no one else will be excited about. So Monica Moore-Smith, we've used her in our Fortnite video. We've used her as Princess Peach in our Smash Brothers video. She was so excited to do it, and she just said yes immediately. And but Link, I was still looking for a Link actor. I had juggled around with a couple different guys, and then the thought came to me. I said the biggest thing for me that almost trumps everything else was the chemistry that Link and Zelda would have. And so I looked up Monica's husband on social media. Thank you, social media, for allowing the world to stop the world. But I looked up her husband, and I didn't know if he was an actor, but I was like, oh my gosh, he's Link. He has the look, he has the build, and he's actually her husband, which the chemistry would be there, so that they could actually feel the love, because it's really a husband and wife, who are looking at each other and are in love. Beautiful places out there waiting for us too. Well, you guys hear scream, and then your first reaction, Link, is, and Pat's gonna be probably. Yeah, by that point, Pat, you can be already coming back like that. Here's kind of reaching. The other people to cast obviously was our witch, and Pat, man, she was also. So what was really cool. I mean, we were supposed to shoot this last year, and everyone wanted to stay on board. They wanted to make it work in their schedule, and Pat especially, she kept on reaching out. She's like, the first thing I did when I called her to tell her that we had to cancel the shoot and was postponed, she started reciting that poem, that wicked poem, that curse that she leaves on Zelda.
Every 60 years, the blood moon rises, and a sacrifice is chosen to cleanse the earth of good and light, and leave it dark and frozen.
She was so excited to play this character and to be this witch and to just really be creepy. And so she was just a lot of fun, but she's actually not creepy at all in real life.
A willing sacrifice. I have been practicing for a year for this.
Keep going with it.
Pat actually told me a really interesting story about her gloves and what they're made of. This is made out of Hansel. This is made out of Gretel.
The main bad guys in this story are the Yiga clan. The Yiga clan in Breath of the Wild. I mean, you can research all the lore there, but essentially I wanted to pay tribute to, and most Breath of the Wild, I mean, that's where the inspiration came from a lot with the costumes, but there's still a lot of other Easter eggs in there from the other past games. But the Yiga clan, they're normally in these like skin-tight red jumpers, and I wanted it to feel more real life, like what Nolan did with Batman. I wanted to do with Zelda, so I still wanted to showcase their costumes and such like that. But so I kept their symbol the same. Allison, wherein she is just absolutely brilliant. Like we would just talk. We looked at pictures of other things, in that kind of era, and we both got excited about making this real world Zelda and these costumes and making the Yiga masks, like kind of these like more like look like they're like these wooden aged masks. for the creature, which was also a made-up character, I wanted to symbolize death. That's what the creature symbolized. I wanted it to be something that unlike, and the reason I wanted to make it something unique is because I didn't want fans to say that like that why would this be the ultimate bad guy as opposed to anything else. So the creature, I wanted it to showcase something that Link and Zelda have never encountered before, but also it still looks like it fits into the Zelda world. And the creature, actually, we had some issues. We had another creature lined up. We had a costume that was already made for something else. It was someone else that owned it. And they backed out, like literally on the week of shooting, last minute. So I called up Allison. I said, they backed out. We don't have a costume for the main creature. So Devin and I went to a Halloween store. We found a mask. We went through like 3 or 4 different masks, and we found the one. And then I called up Allison. Again, we hopped up online and we started looking at things for inspiration. And when we came to the final creature of what you see in the film. For this project, we used stunt doubles, and we've never done that before on any Supertramp film. And we hired Corbett McAllister as the stunt coordinator, and also he was the main stunt double for Young Link and the main stunt double for Old Link. Corbett got together his team of Devin, Todd, and Weixin, and I told them the story and then explained what I wanted for the fights to look like. And they just got super excited. All these guys are big Zelda nerds as well, at least most of them. But I'd go to them with to the gym, and we would watch and as they coordinated stuff, and I'd give little tidbits and stuff here and there, just to help with story elements, thinking about characters and the way they'd react. 99% of the time, I just stepped back and just watched as these magicians worked their magic. I mean, they really did. They put all their effort and energy into it, and it just looked amazing. Corbett, working and doing some of this and doing this stunt work was incredible. It was especially interesting working with Blaine. Blaine is 85 years old. You wouldn't have ever guessed it by the way he acts and his energy. He's just awesome. But there are certain things asking him to do over and over and over again, like with film. You say cut and you redo it and redo it, redo it. It's really taxing on him of having him to get on his knees and stand back up, on his knees, stand back up, and moving around for those fight scenes. So we knew that we had to have stunt double. And Corbett, he was just awesome. He acted. when he was doing it, he still had those movements like Blaine did. And I'm curious to wonder if you guys knew it was in stunt doubles. And same with Justin. Corbett, we had 2 matching wigs, 2 costumes, and Corbett got in there and did all the fight stuff. And then we would figure out moments. What I did is I timed out moments of when I wanted to insert Justin in there, maybe doing like a quick spin or hitting or a block or something like that, just so it would help continue to sell the illusion that who you were watching was just Link the whole time, which is Justin. But I wanted to incorporate a lot of the moves that Link actually does in combat. And one of them is he can jump super high, slam down on the ground, and send out a kind of a blast shock wave. And another one was just to kind of do this backflip with a slice, and moves that are just similar to that. And so we had to set up rigging and wire poles. There's a scene where Link gets thrown back into a tree by the monster. So Corbett just rigged himself up to a tree, and the stunt team just yanked him super hard and it flew him back into that tree. And anyways, but these guys are professionals. They know how to do it, and no one got hurt. There was 0 injuries on this entire set, and it was done all precautionary and very safely. So we were stoked about that.
So we're getting a good pull, but we have too much slack, so we can't get a full
pole, we're kind of getting stuck halfway. So to get Corbett from his mark all the way to the tree, we just need a little bit more, a little less slack. 3, 2, 1, go. Go.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty close to what we want.
Okay. Getting close?
Yeah.
So we shot everything in 8K with the red using Leica lenses. So having these nice cameras and these nice lenses elevates the entire film. The majority of the film was shot on the Ronin gimbal, and we used a Ready Rig to help hold it, which was a lifesaver. We actually had the team from Ready Rig come out, the guys who invented Ready Rig, they came out and shot some behind the scenes stuff for us, and they also helped Devin and the rest of the team dial in how to use the Ready Rig and then how to use the gimbal.
All right, so we're doing something a little bit different where we'll be filming most of this video on the Ronin 2 setup with the red Monstro and also the Helium 8K cameras. But here in our presence, we have Ready Rig themselves.
Legends right here too. Look at this one.
Alessandro. Italian.
Italiano.
Italiano.
We've never had formal training on before, so having that, man, that elevated everything. It helped things with our problem solving, like when there was issues with balance or whatever it was, if we wanted a certain look, if we wanted the camera to look more shaky, or if we wanted it to look more smooth. Those guys, they know that system in and out, and it was just a miracle. And on top of that, 3 of the best people that I've ever met, just good people, just constant good vibes on set, especially when I was stressed out. They could say, and they would just give me words of encouragement. They helped. They just helped immensely with this, and so we're grateful for them for being a part of that.
Yeah. Oh, that is confusing. So funny.
Got a little left head, you know.
Makes no sense.
Yeah. Okay.
What the hell's going on? Oh, that is a good one.
We're all friends here.
I get it.
Mostly.
I get it. Mostly.
So for me as a filmmaker, I have to pre-visualize everything. I'm huge into storyboards, huge into shot lists. I do them both with pretty much everything that I do. Because when you actually get on set, for me, you get asked a million questions by everybody, and you're dealing with a lot of other stresses and trying to...
Get off the shed, Creighton!
Gosh.
What do you want?
You've never actually ever been on a shed, have you, this whole time?
No, there are no sheds around.
Most of the time he's actually not even around when we do it. We say it.
I mean, plenty of like outhouses and like accessory dwelling units, but never a shed.
On top of that, but never a shed. He's never been on a shed, but
Not a shed.
No.
Yeah.
I go through the script and I figure out whose scene it is. And I, who is this scene about? And based off of that is based off of also how the camera moves. And also how the character is feeling is how the camera moves. I did a lot with, I did some point of view shots. I played a lot with wide angles of putting a subject very close to the camera with a wide angle lens, which really caused a distortion. But I did that purposefully, creating this uncomfortableness that Link was feeling, that the audience would be feeling during the witch. I have the witch look right at the lens, like she's looking in Link's eyes, but just to really unsettle the audience, to really showcase the wickedness and the evil that she is. There's some other point of view shots of like young Link when he gets slammed down the ground. We have him looking up and seeing the monster pulling Zelda off, which is a really cool moment. So all of those shots, I sat with Devin and I explained it to him. I would show him the storyboards. I actually used Cine Tracer, so big shout out to them and their software. I used storyboard, so I can actually show some of that footage. You can actually check it out, some of that previs that I did with the shots. And to me, that helps elevate the story. It helps the audience understand exactly what the characters are feeling. For example, one of my favorite moments is when the witch, that Zelda first figures out that this old woman that they rescued is a witch and she's not good. And I have her take up literally half of the frame with her face. I really wanted to showcase that she was the one taking over the scene. She's taking over Zelda's world.
Me? No. I must thank you again for helping me choose my sacrifice.
For me, Breath of the Wild is all about kind of stopping and smelling the roses, stopping and just looking at the world and observing. You can look at nature and wildlife in that game. And to me, this is Link's last day. And he's going to this memorial that he had set up to read his journal, to reminisce. So I really wanted just to showcase that. I'll kind of stop and just reflect. And so I'd use a lot of wide and made Link pretty small, just to kind of showcase like it's just beautiful, just taking the vista, taking the view, be interested in what's happening, but at the same time still be calm. And there's other times too where I left Link in the shadow of the tombstone, just to represent again, to show like what's weighing on Link's mind, what's going on in his head. And obviously this is, you know, this memorial, this tombstone that he created is kind of like the thing that's overshadowing him. It's overshadowing everything about him. So we used the Phantom camera, the super slow-mo camera. I love Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie's one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. He utilizes super slow-mo in such a brilliant way that hasn't really been done. A lot of people try to mimic it and copy it. And I didn't want to necessarily copy it either, but I wanted to showcase Link's skill. And usually the times when it went slow motion was either just to be show the speed or show the nature of something, like when Link barely gets out of the way, you know, of the blade going over his head. But also at the end, there's the last shot of the last slow-mo shot, the super slow-mo shot, is when Link first faces off with the monster and he rips off his cloak and he draws his sword. A big thing in this story is there's a lot of the fight scene that takes place during the blood moon, and to shoot at nighttime, any filmmaker knows, if you have any experience, is the worst, especially if you don't have a lot of lights, which we didn't, and it's freezing cold right now at this time of year at night, drops to the 30s, sometimes to the 20s, and it would just be too much to ask to do it well, to do it right. So I played around with the idea of doing day for night. Because it was a blood moon, I thought I could get away with it a little bit better, because the blood moon's kind of cast this red glow. It's very eerie, but we needed to, based off all the test shots that we did, we figured out that having atmosphere, like some smoke or some haze or some fog, it really helped sell the illusion of the day for night. We have Creighton on our team, who basically I told him what I wanted and he just started researching, and he watched a ton of videos, and we made it ourselves, but we got this fog machine. Creighton hooked up. I mean, you can watch the behind the scenes on the fog machine. We have that exists, but he hooked it up to this rig or this pipe and having it disperse the fog throughout the woods. But man, was it still kind of a nightmare. And he also had little buckets that we filled with charcoal, and we burned frankincense, and which would also create this white smoke. So we could place those little buckets of frankincense here and there to help fill in some of the gaps with the fog. But yeah, working with the wind in the forest, it's tough. It was a nightmare. So it was constantly like waiting. Everything was perfect, and all of a sudden the wind changes and it blows all the fog away, and we don't have any atmosphere at all. So, and that also really slowed us down. But that's just the nature of the beast. It's just what it was. We had to adapt. We had to problem solve. We had to rush on certain parts, and but that's what we did. We only had one fog machine, and we had a generator, and we had Creighton, and the rest of the team just running constantly, just running and moving that thing, and it was like exhausting. But Creighton was a trooper, and he just didn't complain. He did it.
So we got the fog machine leading to a little squirrel fan, which you use for ducting. We're going through a chill box with both normal ice and dry ice. So the fog's being pumped through, and if we can pump it through ducting or piping or whatever we need to get the fog where we want it to go.
The only scene that was really shot in the dark was that last scene. The scene with Zelda and Link, when old man Link hears something in the woods and looks up and sees this person in white.
We're at the pinnacle scene of the video. We're losing light. We have about a half hour of light. Ron just set up a backlight, a Joker 2 1600, and Zane's doing the final directing right now. So everything that this whole movie is built up to is for this pinnacle moment. And I think it's a powerful moment as far as finding your true love once again after you've lost her. Life after death.
As a director, if I want to articulate an idea, oftentimes, and this is something I learned just from listening to a lot of podcasts, watching a lot of behind the scenes of other directors, but you will actually take stuff from other movies or other whatever, shows, pictures, and you'll say, hey, this is, so I could explain it to Devin, and I said, who was the director of photography, and I could say, Devin, this is the look I want. How are we gonna accomplish this?
Okay. He's going this way?
Yeah, he's getting pulled that way.
Yep, so
we're pretty close. I think it's just like right here. Like probably, I'll tell you if this works.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, this works. And the image that actually I showed him was from Taylor Swift's Are We Out of the Woods? I can show you, I'll put the still up of what I had on my phone, this one image of how I wanted the light to look when Zelda was walking through. And so we used that. We had one light. We just had a Joker light. We put off in the distance, and then we waited for that fog and the wind to work with us, and it was magical. And I don't think anyone on set really, I think most people on set didn't know the whole story of this, and realizing this is not a silly story. It's which I think most video game adaptations, especially on YouTube, are kind of silly and fun. This one, I had something I wanted to say that was very personal. And so anyways, when we had this moment when old man Link is looking into the eyes of young Zelda, you know, and just that, it was just so powerful, and people watching it were just so moved. And then when we had then young Link come in and step in after the transformation, and seeing those two with the fog going behind him, with the lighting and everything else, man, it was felt. You know, as far as direction goes, they know the story. Monica and Justin, they knew the story. Like, this has been 60 years since you've seen her, since she's seen him, and to be together again, and to see that unfold was just beautiful. And I think it turned out to be something magical. It just looked absolutely beautiful. Express to those who you love how you feel, but also value every moment, and I believe that's all going to work out in the end.